Hello, my name's John. This is my Ravenwing Outrider conversion, and this is Lair of the Tyrant, Crucible of Champions. And you're watching Wargames models and other hobbies. Hello and welcome back to another video. Something slightly different today. This is my Ravenwing conversion I did about a year or two ago now. Really enjoyed doing it. I have got some videos of how I made it and running through how I painted it, and I'm going to put that at the end of this video. But since I've made it, I haven't actually got round to doing any other members of a squad. Originally I thought I'd use this as a captain on a bike, but then when the new codex came out, they went into the kind of the archive of older units. But now with the release of the Maelstrom Crucible of Champions, you can create your own characters, your own champions. So in this video I am going to create this as a character using the rules that are found in this book. So let's get started. So I'll put up on the screen as I decide the choices and everything, so you can see exactly how you go about this. I'm hoping this kind of system is going to be in the new edition of Warhammer 40,000 when it gets announced, comes out, I think later on this year. But for now, I really quite like these rules. So you have a archetype that you choose, then there's a specialism, then you choose abilities and weapons and so on. So looking at the beginning of this, there is a example champion, which is a Flesh Tearer Terminator, which looks quite cool. But what I'm going to do is create, as I said, a character for this Outrider conversion I did. To start with, because this is Dark Angel, I have the other option of adding the Dark Angel's rules to this, but we're going to start with the standard rules. So this is going to be a champion of the chapter, and it's one model and 70 points. So the base cost of this model is going to be 70 points. And then specialisms, I'm going to go to the Dark Angel specialism, and I'm going to do Ravenwing Bike. So this adds 20 points and changes my movement characteristic and my toughness and wound characteristic as well. And a few extra little bits and pieces in there as well. So now I've got my specialism as the Ravenwing Bike. I'm going to look at the abilities. Now I've got the option of the abilities for the Adeptus Astartes, but then I've also got the abilities of the Dark Angels here, and why wouldn't I go for the Ravenwing Hunter? So I'm going for the Ravenwing Hunter, which is for mounted models only. And while this model is leading a unit, the unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. So it gives a nice little rule for this character just here. So that's the abilities. So just to recap, it's a champion of the chapter. It is a Ravenwing Bike and a Ravenwing Hunter. And now on to 4, which is the weapons. Now, range weapons, because it is on the Outrider bike, I'm going for the twin bolt rifles. So it's got twin bolt rifles on the front of the bike. And then I have the option of up to 2 pistols. And I've decided for this character, as you can see, let me get it in focus so you can have a look. This character is armed with an Inferno pistol, the little melter pistol. And then there is also, beneath his shield there, a holstered weapon as well. Pretty hard to see on camera, but it's got the holstered weapon there as well. So, I'm going to go with the Inferno pistol. And then I've also decided to go with a hand flamer. So I can imagine this character speeding around the battlefield, using the hand flamer to get people out of cover, the Inferno pistol to take down anything with a high toughness because it's got quite a high strength. And then I'm allowed up to 1 or 2 melee weapons. So let's have a look at the Dark Angels one, and there are a few choices for the melee weapons. I can have the Calibanite Greatsword. There is a Great Weapon of the Unforgiven, but that's for Terminators only. And then we also have a Relic Weapon, which gives lethal hits. I think, to be honest, what I'm going to have is the shield that is mounted on his right leg there. I'm going to count that as a relic weapon. So he's got his Inferno Pistol, the Hand Flamer, and then the shield, which is a relic weapon. Whether he throws it like Captain America or it rebounds energy when it takes incoming hits, whatever, I don't know, but that's something for me to decide later on. And that's it. That's my Ravenwing character made. Obviously, there's the rules that I need to write down. In the back of this book, there is the custom data sheet which you can fill out, which I'm going to photocopy this so I can create that data sheet. And that's it. I've now made this single Ravenwing conversion into a character for a Dark Angels army. So, I can start playing. Now, before we take a look at the video of me making this character, just want to quickly show something from the Blood Angels options that you've got here, and that is a Venerable Librarian, and that can be a Dreadnought. I used to love the Librarian Dreadnought that the Blood Angels had, and now with these rules you can make one again, which is, I really like that. Let's have a look quickly. For those who don't know, these are all of the champions you can create. So you've got the Adeptus Astartes, Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Black Templars, Custodes, the Sisters of Battle, Mechanicus, Imperial Agents, Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum, Grey Knights, Chaos Space Marines, World Eaters, Thousand Suns, Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Chaos Demons, Eldari, Drukhari, the Leagues of Votann, Necrons, Orcs, Tau, Tyranids, and Genestealer Cult. So everyone can have their own custom characters. Now, it says in here when you make the custom characters, they need to be identifiable. So I think my bike is quite identifiable as an individual character. I do like some of the examples that they have in this book, especially the Technomatic Librarian there. Really quite like that one. But yeah, that's it. Making a character with Lair of the Tyrant, Crucible of Champions. I'll put this guy's stats back up on the screen one more time so you can take a look at them. And that's it. Stay tuned in this video for the making of this model, which I did a few years ago, and how I painted it. Today I'm going to be converting a Ravenwing character for my 10th edition Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angel army. Now, what I wanted to do was create a character out of some of the spare Outrider kits that I've got. Got 2 bikes spare out of other projects that I've done. And looking at the new rules, I've decided on, in-game, this being a Space Marine captain on a bike, but in my own lore, it's going to be an individual Ravenwing Outrider or something like that. So I've got a few parts from a few different kits that I've already started preparing. Obviously I've got the main body of the bike from the Outrider kit, the fairings, exhausts and legs, backpack, a body. Then I've got other parts from a few other kits. So I've got one of the helmets from the Raven Guard kit, which I'm going to use. I've got a few parts from the various Dark Angel sprues. So I've got a shield, I've got some iconography, shoulder pad. Then I've also got a arm from the Infiltrators unit. Now I'm going to use this arm, I'm going to trim off the weapon from this. I'm not 100% sure what I want this character to have. In the rules, I'm tempted with either an Inferno pistol or a combi weapon, but I haven't decided. But that won't stop me doing the conversion yet. So what I want to do to begin with is start by sorting out the rider themselves. So let's get to it. So because I've got this arm in particular, I can chop off the arm from the character. So I'm just going to do this cleanly with some snips and then tidy it up with my scalpel. Always be careful when using a scalpel, or any tool for that matter. Okay, that'll fit on there. Right, let's trim off this bolt gun from this hand. I could use the snips, but it might damage the hand slightly, so I'm just going to use my scalpel to just gently push into that from that side, and then the same from this side, and there we go. That is that bolt gun removed. Just tidy that up slightly. So there is that hand there. I have the shoulder pad as well that I'm going to want to include. The head there. This head was on another kit, which is why you can see glue marks and things on it. Got the backpack, and I've already started working on the body there. So first things first, I think I'm going to position the body on the bike itself, so then I can sort this arm out correctly. So let's get started with a little bit of gluing and see where it goes. Okay, so there we have the rider completed, apart from whatever weapon that I'm going to give them. One thing that I do know I want to give them is I want to mount this combat shield over their holster, which appears on the left hand side. So what I'll do is I'll mount this side, well, I'll mount both sides of the fairings and the legs in place, and then I'll start on some of those extra details. So let's start putting those together. So, the details I want to put on this, we've got the shield I want to mount on the side of the character over the holster. I've got a Ravenwing kind of back banner that needs to go on, and then I have a Ravenwing badge for this side of the bike fairing, and then on this side I've got a Dark Angel chapter badge that I want to add to it. So let's start by editing all of the items so they fit perfectly. Starting with the shield itself. It's currently mounted on an arm, so I'm going to have to clip that off and tidy it up. Okay, there's the shield done. I don't need to do anything to the Ravenwing icon, but I do need to adjust the Dark Angel chapter symbol and the back banner. So I'll start with the chapter symbol. This originally was designed to go on a backpack, so I've just got to chop the stalk off the back and the bottom so it'll fit onto the bike itself. So there is the chapter badge done. Now with the back banner, I want it to actually be sweeping backwards on the bike rather than sitting upright. I don't think it looks that good that way, so I want to bring it back at this angle. So to fit it onto this bike, I'm just going to need to shave some of the bottom off. I need to make sure I do this correctly, because if it's the wrong angle in both directions, it'll be skew. There we go. Okay, so I want to start sticking these on now. So I'm going to start with the iconography. Let's get this in the middle of the fairing there. So now I've got the Ravenwing iconography on the right hand side of the bike and the left hand side on the rider's shoulders. And now the Dark Angel chapter symbol, I want to put it on this side of the fairing. So I know they don't always have the Dark Angel's chapter symbol on the Ravenwing models, but I want to have this one on this one because I want to paint this side of the fairing, this panel, Dark Angel's green with the detail on it, so it breaks up the black of the whole Ravenwing model. Okay, so there's the chapter symbol on that side, Ravenwing symbol on that side, and I'll stick the back banner on last. I just want to see how this shield positions. So I want to kind of position it just there. There's not much to glue it on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little bit of green stuff and I'm going to make a little ball that I can put behind it, and then stick that to the character. So let me just hold this in place where I want it to go. It's quite tricky in the position it is. Yeah, so I want it to kind of go like that, so I'm not going to see the green stuff that I put on. But let's see what it does when I push it into place and squidge it down. Oops. There we go. Let's get that in focus. Yeah, I'm happy with that in there. Might twist it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that mounted on the side like that. Now looking down from this angle, I can see a little bit of the green stuff. So what I'm going to do with a sculpting tool is just get down in there and flatten it off. But I want to get the right tool. That's the one I want. I want to use this one to just push that down there. It's going to be okay because you're not going to see it because of the black colour of the Ravenwing. But that just tidies it up a little bit. Okay, cool. So the next job, I'm going to glue that back banner in place. There we go. So there are mould lines and a few bits and pieces I do need to tidy up on this, but I'm not going to worry right now. I'll do that when all of the glue's dried and everything like that. So now I have a little bit of green stuff left, and I have a base that the bike is sitting on, and I will want to put some texture and things like that on it, but I've done this in a previous video where I've put green stuff out and rolled a tyre along it to get tyre tracks. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to carefully lift this off the base, and I'm going to put the green stuff onto the base like this. And also near the front tyre as well. So I've got two little patches of green stuff there, and I do have a wheel from the ATV, which, although it's slightly bigger, it's got the same tread on it, and what I want to do is just roll that across the green stuff. So it's given me, show that to camera, a little bit of tread on the sides, and I'm just going to use my scalpel just to smooth out the edges a little bit. But what this will give is just that extra little bit of detail to the base when I come to texture it. So let's put that back in here. So although you don't really see it at the front, you do see it on the back, which works quite nicely, I think. Okay, so while I decide what weapon this guy wants to have, I'm going to call it there for this video. If you'd like to see a video of me painting this one, please drop a comment. It's a nice little conversion, this one, to add to my new Dark Angels army. A single Ravenwing, quite a nice kind of standout piece for a small army. I'll leave some photos at the end of the video. I might have even decided what weapon he's going to have by then. Today we're going to be having a look at my Dark Angels Ravenwing Outrider conversion. I completed it a little while ago and promptly painted it, but I didn't make a video of the painting process, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm just going to talk about the processes that I used and let you have a good look at this model. Any videos relating to this, so applying transfers or creating the base and that kind of thing, I'll leave some links in the description so you can watch those videos as well, because I've gone through my basic techniques for this. But to start with, let's have a look at the model as a whole. Obviously it's Ravenwing, so it's going to be black in colour. I have made a video in the past on painting black a certain way using a white base, but this time round I used black as a base. So I actually used some Chaos Black primer as the base. Alternatively, I could have used Abaddon Black. The next stage was giving a dry brush of Skaven Blight Dinge, which followed with a wash of Nuln Oil. I then did two other dry brushes on top of that, one being the Mechanicus Standard Grey, and then in places followed by some Grey Seer. Now if you'd like me to do a very specific video on painting that black, I'd be happy to. Just drop a like and a comment. But it created a finish that I was really happy with. A few other little details on here, so around the Dark Angels chapter badge I did actually use some green to have a kind of a halo around it of a slightly different colour that picks up on some lighting. I also played around with heated metal effects, for the exhausts. So again, if you'd like to see how I do that, drop a comment. And then other than that, it was applying transfers. So the transfers that I applied, I have a veteran's symbol on the right shoulder pad. I have some marksman transfers just on the side of the bike there. I then have that checkerboard pattern, which really enjoyed putting in place, adds a real nice bit of detail to this piece. And as well as that, on the little screen I used a transfer. Let's get that in focus. I used a transfer and then painted over it with a few layers of washes and varnish and things to make it look like the screen had certain details on it. But I really enjoyed painting this one up. It took me probably about 4 or 5 hours in total to complete this paint job. Obviously when I'm doing individual pieces it does take longer than if I'm batch painting. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Now in the game, when I started converting this, I was looking at a captain on a bike, which is why this one's armed with an Inferno pistol. But since the release of the Space Marines Codex, it's no longer in the Codex, that kind of character, but it is available on the downloads of the Games Workshop website under the Adeptus Astartes, where you can still get some of the older units. I'm still going to use it as a captain on a bike because I just have one of them. I haven't got any other models at the moment that can be part of a squad, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's John, and you've been watching Wargames, Models, and other hobbies.